Ladies and gentlemen, it is time. World War III here in WCW. Of course, I am CR Daredevil as we go through another episode of our Monday Night Wars What If series. And tonight, we are doing the World War III pay-per-view in 1995. We've got big-time matches happening tonight, including the WCW World Heavyweight Championship on the line, Ric Flair defending against Randy Savage in a steel cage match designed to keep the Horsemen out. We've got the United States Championship on the line, Steve Austin defending the title against Eddy Guerrero. We've got the World Tag Team titles on the line in a Gauntlet match where the Blue Bloods have to run the Gauntlet and all that. And of course, we have the Television Championship on the line, Diamond Dallas Page defending against Arn Anderson. And, obviously, as has been announced for a few weeks now, we also have the big World War III Battlebowl happening, where the winner will get a shot at the WCW World Heavyweight Championship anytime between now and next year's World War III, as long as they give the champion a week's notice, essentially. So, with all of that set to go, I believe it's time to dive right into the action. And this time, you actually get to see the pre-show stuff, because there is one match on the pre-show and then a kind of important, or not important, but kind of notable segment. So in one pre-show match, we have a six-man tag team matchup in which the Wyndhams and Ron Simmons defeat Big Bubba Rogers and the Stud Stable in 7:48 when Simmons pins Bunkhouse Buck with a spinebuster. Rikishi Fatu came out and distracted Big Bubba Rogers during the matchup as well. This match was essentially, hey, these six men were not picked for the, when I did the randomizer, these six men were not picked for the Battlebowl thing, and I wanted to get them featured on, in a match here on the pay-per-view, so I threw them all together in a matchup. It just happened to kind of work itself out where, Buck and Slater are technically a tag team, even though I'm not really using them much as a tag team, or much at all. And the Wyndhams I'm trying to push as a little bit of a tag team, so it just kind of happened to work out that way. But, yeah. 72 from Simmons, 48 from Kendall, 72 from Barry, 61 from Slater, 44 from Buck, and 59 from Rogers. So yeah, that's essentially what this match was. I did the randomizer to get all the people entered into the lethal lottery portion of the Battlebowl, and these six men weren't picked, so I just kind of threw them in a matchup. Especially because Barry Windham is a major star, and Ron Simmons, I believe, is either a star or major star, and Rogers is a star, so I wanted to make sure they got used, otherwise they would have whined about not being on the pay-per-view, which they still might whine about it, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, we move on from that to an interesting segment right before the show starts, in which Vader and Bam Bam Bigelow attack the Patriot backstage, leaving him down and out. Of course, the Patriot is currently set to team up with Marcus Bagwell in the Tag Team Gauntlet, but we don't know what the issue is here. We don't know if it's because they just don't like the Patriot, if the Patriot just happened to be in their way and they weren't happy when they arrived to the arena tonight. We don't know what happened, but all we know is that we found the Patriot laid out on the ground and Vader and Bam Bam standing over him as security tries to come to Patriot's aid. Breaking the fourth wall a little bit here, Patriot's contract is up, so he's actually leaving after tonight. So he this is his way of getting kind of written off. His ratings in the ring were just not good enough for me to justify extending his contract, essentially. So, he'll find other pastures to wrestle in, I suppose, but it won't be WCW, unfortunately. Anyway, after that, we move on to the main show itself. We open up with Roddy Piper backstage in his office, hyping up tonight's show. He talks about Flair and Savage. He talks about Sting and Vader, which I forgot to mention in the hype part at the start of the video. The Sting and Vader match to determine the number one contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. He also talks a bit about the Tag Team Battle Royal, or Tag Team Gauntlet, that is, not Battle Royal. I got Battle Royal on mine because of, the World War III thing. So he thought, does all that stuff and kind of hypes all that up. 79 rating for the segment. Good stuff there. We move on to our first Lethal Lottery match here tonight, in which, in an extremely short matchup, Cactus Jack and Chris Kanyon defeat Rob Van Dam and Ricky Santana in 5:27 when Cactus Jack pins RVD with a pile driver. So I hired Rob Van Dam, by the way. He's just on a handshake deal. This is technically before he might be in ECW at this point, but I don't think so. I think when I hired him, he's only in All Japan right now. So I hired him on a handshake deal so he can keep working elsewhere. But I think this is before he went to ECW. So my idea behind doing so was, hey, here's this young guy who, because WCW obviously has their connections with Japanese wrestling. Not necessarily All Japan as much, more New Japan, but still. And so the idea was that they kind of saw RVD performing for All Japan, and they were like, we'll bring him in for, minor stuff. So we'll see what happens with that. But anyway, so Cactus Jack and Chris Kanyon win this tag team matchup, and they are entered into the Battle Royal later in the night. Santana with a 39, 36 from Rob Van Dam, 36 from Kanyon, and 82 from Cactus Jack. That was just blew the roof off the place. He just overperformed everybody in the ring. Kanyon actually is paired up with Jacqueline. That's a thing I've been slowly kind of building off screen. Canyon's playing he's playing his Champagne Canyon kind of character, and so Jacqueline's kind of the person that's helping him kind of, be that party boy, the all about the party and all about being awesome and stuff like that. So that's kind of that whole thing with that, but they're a good pairing, which is cool. But yeah, main star of this was Cactus Jack. Got a 56. I'm not expecting these tag team. There's only one of the 5 tag team matches in the Lethal Lottery that might get a decent rating. The other ones are not going to be great, but it is what it is. I chose to do the random, and the random led me to some very interesting matches, as you'll see. After that, we get Alex Wright and Bam Bam Bigelow defeating Joey Maggs and Fidel Sierra in another Lethal Lottery matchup when Bigelow pins Sierra with a powerbomb in 5:30. 49 rating for the match there. Again, another one where it was like one big star and then some other kind of decent people. Although Alex Wright is a former television champion. 31 from Sierra, 34 from Maggs, 74 from Bigelow, 41 from Alex Wright, who seemed off his game. But Alex Wright and Bam Bam Bigelow showed excellent chemistry teaming together, so that's something. I don't know if I'll ever do anything with it, but that's something. Bam Bam Bigelow is kind of a monster heel who's teaming up with Vader right now, and Alex Wright is a babyface that's kind of floundering ever since he lost the TV title, so I don't think that anything will ever happen with it, but it's good to have that in the back pocket, just in case, I guess. But yeah, 49 rated matchup, not great, but it is what it is. After that, we get our television championship match, in which Diamond Dallas Page defeats Arn Anderson in 8:58 by pinfall after using a foreign object, making defense number 5 of the World Television Championship. Arn Anderson got a 72. I was not expecting that. I'm not going to lie. After not really booking Arn in many matches since this series started, I figured his rating was going to be kind of lower, which is why I had this be a shorter match with DDP winning in a tainted way. But apparently Arn still can go, so that's a good note to have heading forward. Diamond Dallas Page retains his television championship, though. 63 rating for the match, 61 from Page. But there you go. Page retains his television championship. And then after the match, he goes completely crazy. He's running around like a madman, dumping water over himself, going crazy over the top with his celebration because he just defeated Arn Anderson. And Arn Anderson's a legend in this business. And my God, Diamond Dallas Page did it, even though he used a foreign object. He's the greatest ever. I guess this foreign object could have been the television title. Diamond Dal gave him the title, and he was able to hit Anderson with it to retain his belt. But he's just going over the top. He's going over the top with it, just going crazy. And there's Diamond Dallas Page for you. After that, we move on to our next Lethal Lottery matchup, which gets a 51 rating, in which Sergeant Craig Pittman and the Giant defeat the Renegade and Christopher Daniels at 417 when Giant pins Daniels with a chokeslam. Again, one big star, 3 other not so big stars. Giant gets a 79, 27 from Pittman, 30 from Daniels, 38 from Renegade. Daniels is same kind of thing with Rob Van Dam. Daniels is brought in. You can tell how old of a picture this is because Daniels actually has hair in that picture. But Daniels essentially brought in as a lower tier, help put other people over, maybe has a future for himself kind of character. We'll see what happens with it. But yeah, Giant looked excellent out there. So now Sergeant Craig Pittman and the Giant have moved on to the Battle Royal. So 6 men have qualified for the Battle Royal so far. 3 probably wouldn't seem like they belong. Well, I mean, Alex Wright would be kind of a decent name to have in that, but Pittman definitely doesn't seem like he belongs in it and all that, but that 'tis the random. After that, in a 50 rated matchup, this one's at least a little bit better for the Lethal Lottery. Poor matchup, Terry Richards and Dean Malenko defeats Ultimo Dragon at VK Wall Street in 641 when Malenko gets Wall Street to tap out to a Texas Cloverleaf. 50 rated for the match. 50 from Wall Street, 33 from Dragon. Dean Malenko gets a 70. Terry Richards gets a 24. So, at least this one had a little bit more star power to it because Malenko and Wall Street are both stars in the company. But, yeah, as you can kind of see. Ultimo Dragon has been brought in, working with Sonny Ono. He's got terrible popularity in the U.S. right now, so his ratings are going to be kind of lower. But, it is what it is. Yeah, so 50 rating as Terry Richards and Dean Malenko moves on to the Battle Royal as well. So, again, 4 people you wouldn't necessarily expect it in, and 4 people who are going to be kind of, all right, these ones could be intriguing. I mean, you got Cactus Jack, you got the Giant in there, you got Dean Malenko now in there. I mean, you got Bam Bam. I mean, those 4, any one of those 4 could possibly win it. It's the way I've been building it up, so you never know. After that, we move on to our United States Championship matchup, which I thought I might have moved it around by accident. I thought I had a promo with Austin talking about the match beforehand, but maybe I didn't. Anyway, in an 89 rated matchup, that's right, an 89 rating. About that had great wrestling, good heat. Eddie Guerrero defeats Steve Austin in 13:54 by pinfall with a frog splash after a distraction from Brian Pillman. And Eddie Guerrero is the new WCW United States Champion. Eddie with a 72, Austin with an 82. They have pretty good chemistry with each other. All sorts of green there. All sorts of good stuff. 89 rating. Eddie Guerrero wins the U.S. title. And there you go. So Pillman costs Steve Austin the United States Championship. Clearly their issues are not done with each other. Or their issues have not come to an end. But Eddie Guerrero is now the United States Champion. So big stuff for Eddie Guerrero. We'll have to see how he does heading forward, holding that belt and going from there. And we'll have to see if, Eddie and Steve have a rematch for the title and all that. But big celebration for Eddie Guerrero, who wins the United States Championship here tonight at World War III. After that, we get our final Lethal Lottery tag match. This is what I was talking about when I said that one of these matches had some star power in it. And about that great heat and decent wrestling, Paul Orndorff and John Tenta defeat the Taskmaster and Dustin Rhodes in 9/12. When Orndorff pins the Taskmaster after Dustin Rhodes wiped out the Taskmaster, that shouldn't say by accident. So TW doesn't let, at least I haven't found one. Maybe I'm just blind, but TW doesn't let you have the option of your partner, of you purposely screwing over your partner. So I had to put by accident. But essentially, Dustin Rhodes and the Taskmaster, they're part of that whole Cactus Jack versus the Giant feud. So they started fighting with each other throughout the matchup, and Dustin ended up knocking out the Taskmaster at one point, and then just kind of threw up his hands and left. And it wasn't really by accident. He went to go, it was one of those things where he went to go punch Orndorff, went to go not punch him. He went to go big boot him and missed him and hit the Taskmaster. So it was quote unquote accident. But then Dustin was like, meh, whatever, and then just leaves. Orndorff and Tenta get the victory. They move on to the Battle Royal. So now we got a pretty interesting Battle Royal coming up. Pretty interesting 10-man Battle Royal coming up. We'll have to see who ends up winning that one. But yeah, also Dustin Rhodes and Taskmaster clearly having their issues still. Tenta with a 54, 61 from Orndorff, 72 from Dustin Rhodes, and 66 from Taskmaster. As we move on from that 71 rated match, by the way. We move on to the first matchup in the Tag Team Gauntlet here tonight, with the World Tag titles on the line. Decent matchup. Harlem Heat defeat the Armstrongs at 5:47. Booker wins with a Harlem Hangover. 50 rating for that. The Armstrongs 38 and 42 respectively. Stevie Ray with a 60, Booker T with a 62. So they're the first. That was the first match of the Gauntlet, and Harlem Heat win. I didn't have enough time so slight spoiler alert, especially if you're going to start adding up all the times for these matches too. I overbooked the heck out of this pay-per-view, not really thinking about it, and ended up doing 220 some minutes. So when we get to the main event, the world title match over, it may actually suffer a little bit from crowd burnout. But anyway, so I missed a segment that I was going to put in, but essentially it's going to be a segment of them kind of drawing numbers to determine their entry in the Gauntlet. And, it wasn't a big important one. It was just going to be a brief little hype for it of all right, so here's the teams that are drawing numbers for it, blah, blah, blah kind of thing. And Harlem Heat ended up drawing number 2. So that's why you have it like that. So Harlem Heat win this match here. After that, so we prepare for the second match of the Gauntlet. Marcus Bagwell comes out without the Patriot. He still wants to be a part of this matchup, but the Patriot's injured. And that's when Scotty Riggs comes out to be his partner. So it's going to be Marcus Bagwell and Scotty Riggs taking on Harlem Heat here tonight in the second match of the Gauntlet. And that match gets a 51. Not bad. Harlem Heat with the victory there. 61 from Stevie, 62 for Booker, 41 from Scotty, and 50 from Marcus Bagwell. Yes, Marcus Bagwell and Scotty Riggs, the American males. I said a few months ago I wasn't going to do them. I wasn't going to do these two. I was going to leave it as Stars and Stripes, but then Patriot's contract came up, and I just decided not to keep it. And then I was like, I don't really know if I want to put Bagwell by himself for the time being. So I think we're going to run with the American males for at least a little while. Not a long while, but at least for a little while we're going to run with these guys. So they'll be the American males heading forward, but I didn't name them now because I wanted to, kind of have it seem like a little bit more of a surprise. But yeah, so they'll end up being the American males heading forward. But they lose to Harlem Heat as Harlem Heat advances on in the Gauntlet match. After that, Harlem Heat are waiting for the next team, a little exhausted, when all of a sudden the Faces of Fear music hits. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Meng is back. Meng is recovered from his injury, and he is ready to go. And he is in this Gauntlet matchup. Meng and the Barbarian taking on Harlem Heat. And a 62 rated matchup. Harlem Heat able to get a quick roll-up victory over the Faces of Fear in 9:27. Booker T pinning the Barbarian with a fast roll up there. 61 from Stevie, 62 from Booker, 45 from Barbarian, 60 from Meng. But yeah, so Faces of Fear are back, but they lose in the Gauntlet match here thanks to a roll up by Booker T. However, they don't take that line down because afterwards, the Faces of Fear come out and they just they don't come out. They're already in the ring. They end up just attacking the hell out of Harlem Heat. Meng comes in, just starts beating the hell out of Booker. Stevie comes in to try to fight off Meng, and he gets beat up by Meng. And then Barbarian gets to his feet, and the two men just lay waste to Booker T and Stevie Ray. That's when the Blue Bloods come out. They somehow in all of this, they ended up drawing. They ended up drawing number 4 in this whole thing. And so they come out. They pay off James Mitchell. And then they go and they, apparently they paid off James Mitchell as like a thank you for this happening over. And then they go and they eliminate Harlem Heat. So without it even being an actual official match, like they tell the referee to call for the bell. Referee calls for the bell. Regal pins Stevie Ray 1, 2, 3. Harlem Heat's eliminated from the Gauntlet. And just like that, because of some changes that happened, including a team being taken out, I think, Blue Bloods win the Gauntlet match. They are still the World Tag Team Champions. So there's that. Except there's not that. Because as they're celebrating, Piper comes out and says that this match is not over. There's still another team to go. And the Blue Bloods are confused. And that's when the Four Horsemen's music hits. And out comes Brian Pillman and Chris Benoit. And the crowd, wanting to boo the Horsemen, still kind of cheer somewhat because, between the Blue Bloods and the Horsemen, they're going to cheer the Horsemen. And after that, in a 72 rated matchup, which is really good actually, the Four Horsemen defeat the Blue Bloods in 14:22 when Pillman pins Earl Robert Eden with an air Pillman, and the Horsemen are your new World Tag Team Champions. That's right. Brian Pillman and Chris Benoit are the new Tag Team Champions here in WCW. 72 rating for the match, 71 from Benoit, 75 from Pillman, 70 from Eaton, and 77 from Regal. Great matchup between these two teams. Some bonuses for the Blue Bloods there. Yeah, so, all right, here's the thing. I gotta break the fourth wall a little bit again here. The Horsemen were not planned for this Gauntlet match. I know I did the 4-way on Nitro and completely forgot about the teams that were in it. In fact, I'm pretty sure I forgot a team completely. Mine has just been a little over the place when I was booking this. So this spot was originally going to be the Steiner brothers being in this. And the Steiner brothers were going to fight the Blue Bloods with the title on the line. And then I was going to kind of determine then whether I was going to put the belts on the Steiners. I don't think I was going to put the belts on the Steiners. I think I was going to have it be like a shady finish that was going to lead to a rivalry between the two teams heading forward. Then the Steiner brothers decided they'd rather work in New Japan tonight over us. So the Steiner brothers can have fun working in New Japan. We're going to keep using them part-time then. And that's when I was like, all right, well, I got the Horsemen here. Why not throw them in there? And then I was like, man, it'd be really cool if the Horsemen actually went over. So there you go. That's essentially the breakdown of that. I know you guys don't necessarily care about that. It wasn't necessarily on the fly booking over. I knew I was going to have the final match be shady. I had planned for it to be the Steiner brothers in there. Because when I went to go look at the schedule thing, because I know some people might be like, well, you could have just looked at their availability and saw if they were going to work New Japan or not that night. When I went and looked at the availability thing, it showed our pay-per-view before New Japan's show. So I believed that meant that they were going to take priority over our show versus their show. Apparently not. So there was that. But anyway, So Brian Pillman and Chris Benoit are your new World Tag Team champions. The Blue Bloods with a short title reign. But, they're not out of it. They may, may get their rematch in the near future, all that stuff. We'll have to see how that plays out. After that, the Horsemen celebrate as the Blue Bloods are irate and glare at Roddy Piper, who's just standing there with a smirk on his face about it as the show moves on from that. Moves on to the Battle Royal, featuring Alex Wright, Bam Bam Bigelow, Cactus Jack, Chris Kanyon, Dean Malenko, John Tenta, Paul Orndorff, Sergeant Craig Pittman, Terry Richards, and the Giant. And during the matchup, the Giant tossed out Terry Richards, tossed out Pittman, tossed out Alex Wright, and then started fighting with Cactus Jack. And Jack and Giant eliminated each other from the Battle Royal. Holy cow, everybody's going crazy. So there's that part. And then he also tossed out Chris Kanyon. I knew I was missing one. I was like, wait a minute, I missed one here when I was reading the thing. So the final 6 was Bigelow, Malenko, Tenta, and Orndorff, and then Giant and Cactus, because Giant eliminated everybody else. So then Giant and Cactus eliminate each other. They're still fighting up the ramp to the back. So final 4 is Orndorff, Tenta, Malenko, and Bigelow. Malenko's obviously not looking great because he's, Tenta and Orndorff and Bigelow are bad guys, and they're like, we could just team up on this small little guy and beat him up and then toss him out, and we'll settle it between us 3 men. So Malenko starts getting kind of beat up some, and that's when Johnny B. Bad comes running out, attacks Paul Orndorff, and Malenko is able to eliminate Paul Orndorff, and so the crowd's going crazy. So then it's Bam Bam Bigelow Dean Malenko, and John Tenta, and the 2 big men keep working over Malenko, and then Tenta sets up Malenko to be kind of hit, and Bigelow bounces off the ropes, comes flying back, but Malenko's able to duck out of the way, and Tenta gets knocked backwards, starts staggering over the top rope, and then Malenko's able to hit a drop kick into Bigelow that sends Bigelow into John Tenta, fully eliminating John Tenta from the match. So we're down to the final 2. It's Bam Bam Bigelow and it's Dean Malenko, and the 2 start fighting it out. The crowd's going crazy. They want to see Dean Malenko win this matchup, but essentially the power game is just too much. And in 10-19, Bam Bam Bigelow eliminates Dean Malenko to win the World War III Battlebowl, essentially, or just World War III in general. So now Bam Bam Bigelow has a shot at the world title anytime between now and next year's World War III pay-per-view. So scary stuff there for the World Heavyweight Champion, whoever it ends up being, because Bam Bam Bigelow is knocking on that door now. I wanted Dean Malenko to get kind of a push in this. It's hard to really push him too much since he doesn't have the greatest entertainment skills, but I figured in matches he can look pretty strong, so there's that. But 76 rating for this Battle Royal is really good. I was not expecting it to be as good, especially because I was expecting some of these people to be a lot more tired. And there might actually, look at the dirt sheet real quick, there might actually be some, well, no, maybe not. Interesting. I figured there was going to be some people kind of tired from stamina for wrestling twice in the night, but to be fair, a lot of those first matches were just 5, 6, 7 minute matches anyway, so. But anyway, so there you go. Bam Bam Bigelow has the guaranteed shot at the world title sometime in the next year. After that, we have Sting getting interviewed backstage before his matchup with Vader. Sting is talking about how he just watched what happened in that World War III Battle Royal, and that means that if Vader was to win tonight, then that means that Vader and Bam Bam Bigelow would basically control the World Heavyweight Championship here in WCW, because Vader would be getting a shot, and Bam Bam can call his shot, and they could just make it a 2-on-1 handicap match, essentially. And Sting's not going to let that happen. Sting's going to fight with everything he's got tonight to put down Vader to make sure he gets his shot at the World Heavyweight Championship. And he says that in the main event tonight, he doesn't care if it's Savage or Flair walking out with that belt. He wants to fight the World Heavyweight Champion, and he will do whatever it takes to do so. And we move on to the matchup, which gets an 87 rating. Bout that had fantastic heat and great wrestling. Sting and Vader go to a double disqualification 11:25 because the Horsemen come running in and attack both men. The Horsemen, Flair was that insecure about one of these two men that he sent the rest of the Horsemen out to beat down Sting and Vader. So the match goes to a double disqualification. Neither man wins. Not sure what happens with that, but neither man wins the match. 84 from Sting, 75 from Vader. They have great chemistry with each other. Also, as you see there, I forgot to mention it earlier during the pre-show segment, Vader and Percy Prignell have pretty good chemistry. That's right, we stole Paul Bearer from WWF. His contract was coming up, and I was like, man, he would be a great manager for some of my big guys like Vader around here. So I went and I outbid him from WWF. WWF tried to keep him, but wasn't good enough of an offer, and he came to WCW. So he's now managing Bam Bam Bigelow and Vader. It's kind of an unannounced thing, but yeah, he's managing the two now. He's not doing the Paul Bearer gimmick necessarily as much either. It's kind of a different variation of it. He's still kind of the creepier. He's still kind of a creepier guy, but he's not as much a Paul Bearer, so to speak, now. Which you'll see as time goes on, because we'll start having him be cutting promos and all that stuff. So, 87 rating for the matchup, great stuff there. And then after that, we've got Randy Savage with a promo talking about Ric Flair. The crowd is getting all sorts of fired up because it's time. It's gonna be time for the World Heavyweight Championship match. Savage says that he saw what the Horsemen just did in that match with Sting and Vader, and he says that that's why he's glad that there's gonna be a steel cage in this matchup tonight. That's why he's glad that the Horsemen are not gonna be allowed to interfere in this matchup tonight. Because at the end of the day, Ric Flair is going to have to beat Randy Savage one-on-one with no excuses whatsoever in order to prove that he is better than Randy Savage. And at the end of the day, Ric Flair can be strutting around all he wants and be a multiple-time world champion all he wants, but at the end of the day, the Macho Man Randy Savage will rise to the top, and he will be your new WCW World Heavyweight Champion. And then, in the match itself, an 86 rating. Let's go. In an exceptional matchup, Ric Flair defeats Randy Savage in 1534 when Flair escapes the cage to make defense number 8 of the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. He actually did it. He beat Randy Savage one-on-one in the main event of World War III. Savage gave it his all, but the end of the day, essentially what happened was Savage was he had Flair down, hits him with the double axe handle from the top rope, hits him with a pile driver, hits him with another double axe handle from the top rope. Crowd's going crazy. Savage goes to climb the cage, goes to leave. Then he hears the crowd going crazy, and he's all hyped for it. He's standing there on the top of the cage, goes for the diving elbow. Flair rolls out of the way, and he comes crashing to the mat. Savage is down, he's out, he's hurt. Flair crawls himself over to the door of the cage and crawls out the door to retain the World Heavyweight Championship. So at the end of the day, Flair did manage to stay strong with Savage, but at the end of the day, Savage beat himself. Savage tried to go for the big move and crashed and burned. And Ric Flair retains the World Heavyweight Championship. 93 from Savage, 95 from Flair. We needed better better announcers at this point. Otherwise, this rating would have been a lot higher. Because they have great chemistry as well. And they have hot new moves and groundswell of public support. So this would have been a fantastic rating if it wasn't for Tony Schiavone. Well, and the crowd is starting to get burnt out. I knew it was going to start getting burnt out there. But yeah, big time matchup, and that's, at least for the time being, that's going to kind of end the whole Flair and Savage saga. I have things lined up for both men heading forward, so that's gonna. I mean, they're still gonna be kind of interacting with each other and passing, but that's probably gonna be the last one-on-one match that they have, especially for the world title in a while. After that, the Horsemen come out to celebrate with Ric Flair, picking him up on their, kind of putting the arm, one of each of his arms around their shoulders, holding him up over as Anderson grabs the world title. And the Horsemen celebrate, as not only are they leaving World War III with the World Heavyweight Championship, but they're also leaving with the World Tag Team titles. And Savage is just laying in pain on the mat, clearly upset about what happened, holding his elbow because he came crashing down onto the mat with it, looking visibly upset. But at the end of the day, the Horsemen have reigned supreme. We end this show with a 83 rating, increasing popularity in 18 regions. Let's go. I will take it. On a night where I had all sorts of tag team matches happening, especially a lot of tag team matches that were not getting that great of ratings, I will take an 83 for sure. But what's more important is what you guys thought of the show, as that was a big time show for sure. We have the world title retained by Ric Flair, new United States champion, new world tag team champions, TV title still held by Diamond Dallas Page, Sting and Vader. We don't know who's their more contender. We know Bam Bam Bigelow has a world title shot sometime in the next 12 months. Who knows what's going to happen? The only way you're going to know what's going to happen is to watch tomorrow night's Monday Nitro and see what the fallout is for World War III. I, of course, have been Sierra Daredevil, bringing you all of this action. Hope you guys enjoy it. Hope you guys continue to enjoy this series and enjoy the TNA series. If you haven't seen the first video for that yet, that showed up on the channel. That's going to be another series we're going to be taking on. But hopefully you guys enjoy this, and we will catch you all tomorrow night for Monday Nitro.